Friday night was supposed to be perfect. But instead, Amal's anger boiled over as her husband dismissed her yet again. Determined to reclaim her night, she heads to one of LA's most exclusive clubs, where two mysterious men catch her eye and promise an unforgettable evening. What happens when she decides to follow her desires? Dive into this captivating story and see how one night changes everything. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Friday night should have marked the start of an ideal weekend. But instead, I found myself standing in the middle of my living room, my voice raised and anger simmering inside. My husband, as usual, had a way of dismissing my emotions, treating my frustrations as if they were nothing more than a minor inconvenience to him. "You're overreacting, Amal," he said, grabbing his car keys. "I don't have time for this right now." "Of course you don't," I retorted, folding my arms. "You never do." He let out a sharp sigh, shaking his head. "I'm going to meet the guys. Don't wait up," he added. And just like that, he was gone, leaving me standing there, fuming. My hands clenched at my sides. Grabbing my phone, I quickly started texting my girlfriends. Within moments, they responded with exactly what I needed to hear. "Forget him. Come out with us. Let's actually have fun tonight." Without hesitation, I made up my mind. If he could go out and enjoy himself without a second thought, so could I. An hour later, I was stepping out of a black car in front of one of LA's most exclusive clubs, the bass of the music vibrating through the pavement beneath my heels. My friends were already in line, dressed to impress, their faces lighting up when they saw me. "You look amazing," one of them exclaimed, scanning me from head to toe. And I did. My dress hugged my curves in all the right places, and my heels made my legs appear impossibly long. I felt confident, sexy, and powerful. The moment we entered, the energy hit me like a wave. The dim lights, the intoxicating mix of perfume and alcohol, and the pulsing music, everything about this place screamed temptation. We made our way to the bar, ordering drinks and laughing, completely lost in the moment. Then I felt it, eyes on me. I turned slightly, scanning the crowd, and that's when I saw them. Two men, standing apart from the chaos of the club, exuding confidence in a way that made my heart race. They weren't like the others here, desperate or trying too hard. No, these two men radiated power and control. It was evident in the way they stood, in the way they watched me with dark, knowing eyes, as if they had already decided how the night would unfold. Tall and strikingly handsome, their smooth, dark skin shimmered under the lights. Their bodies were sculpted from pure muscle, every inch of them exuding strength and dominance. They were the type of men who took what they wanted without asking, and I wanted to be taken. I forced myself to look away, to pretend that I wasn't affected, but it was pointless. My body had already betrayed me, my skin tingling, my breath growing uneven. Then, as if they were reading my thoughts, they moved. And before I could even process it, they were beside me. Their presence was overwhelming. One of them leaned in, his voice smooth as velvet. "You look like you could use another drink," he said, handing me a glass, his fingers brushing against mine and sending a spark straight through me. I hesitated only briefly before accepting, feeling warmth rise to my cheeks. "Join us?" the other man asked, nodding toward a private table in the corner of the club. My friends nudged me, giggling and whispering encouragement, and I didn't refuse. I followed them, my heart pounding, my body already giving in to the pull of the night. As we walked toward their table, I could feel the heat of their presence surrounding me. The sheer power they exuded made my pulse race. My friends followed behind, giggling and giving me knowing looks, but I hardly noticed them anymore. My focus was entirely on them. We reached a VIP section, a secluded booth tucked away from the main crowd. The music still reverberated through the air, but here it felt more intimate, more charged. The men moved with a confidence that thrilled me. They didn't need to fight for attention. It came to them effortlessly. One of them, the taller of the two, slid into the booth first and motioned for me to sit beside him. His eyes were intense, dark and unreadable, filled with something that made my stomach tighten. His build was unreal, broad shoulders, thick arms, the kind of strength that promised things I shouldn't be thinking about. "I'm Darius," he said, his voice a deep rumble. "And I'm Malik," the other man added, his smirk slow and deliberate as he leaned back in his seat, watching me as though he enjoyed the way my body responded to them. He was just as well built, his sharp jawline and full lips enough to make my breath hitch. "Amal," I said, my voice smoother than I expected, even as my heart raced. Darius tilted his head slightly, his gaze sweeping over me, taking in every inch of my body. "Beautiful name," he commented. A waiter arrived setting down more drinks. Darius handed me a glass, and this time I didn't hesitate. I took a slow sip, feeling the warmth spread through me. The alcohol only intensified the fire already simmering beneath my skin. "So, Malik," I said, his fingers lazily running along the rim of his glass, "what brings a woman like you out tonight?" I let out a soft laugh, shaking my head. "Let's just say my husband had other plans, so I decided to make some of my own." They exchanged a look, subtle, unreadable, but the smirk on Darius's lips deepened. "His loss," he murmured. My breath caught at the way he said it. Low, confident. Instinctively, my thighs pressed together. The conversation flowed easily, laced with flirtation. The tension so thick, I could almost feel it pressing against my skin. They were charming, smooth, but there was something darker beneath it, something dangerous. And I wanted more. I leaned in slightly, letting my fingers trail over the base of my glass, watching them through my lashes. "So tell me," I whispered, "are you two always this generous with your attention?" Malik chuckled, slow and deep, his eyes locked onto mine. "Only when we see something we want." The heat between us sparked, crackled, ready to explode, and I was more than ready to let it. Darius and Malik didn't break eye contact. Their gazes were heavy, filled with something dark, something dangerous. The way they looked at me made my breath catch and my pulse pound in my ears. They weren't just flirting. They were hunting. And I was already theirs. Malik leaned in first, his voice a low murmur against my ear. "You like being wanted, don't you?" A shiver ran down my spine. His lips barely grazed my skin, but the effect was instant. Heat flooded through me, my body reacting before my mind could catch up. Darius watched me closely, his smirk slow and knowing. His finger reached out, tracing the back of my hand resting on the table. The touch was subtle, barely there, but it sent a shiver down my spine. "You've been watching us since you walked in," Malik said, his voice smooth, yet teasing. "And now, you're here." I swallowed hard, my fingers tightening around my glass. "Maybe I was just curious," Malik chuckled, his fingers lightly grazing my knee under the table. "Curiosity can be dangerous, Emily." A rush of excitement surged through me as the club pulsed around us. Music, laughter, flashing lights. But it all faded into the background. The only thing I could focus on was the presence of the two men seated across from me. Their poise, the way they carried themselves, and how their attention was entirely fixed on me. "Come with us," Darius murmured, his voice low and confident, more of a command than a suggestion. Without hesitation, I stood, my breath quickening just slightly. I could feel my friend's eyes on me, their smirks filled with knowing amusement. But I barely acknowledged them. Malik took my hand, his grip strong as he led me through the dimly lit club, with Darius following closely behind. We wove through the crowd, past bodies swaying to the rhythm, past booths where people were lost in their own worlds. Suddenly, I found myself pressed gently against the cool surface of a hallway door, Darius standing close, his presence commanding. I let out a slow breath as Malik's hands slid down my arms, his touch warm and steady. "You're shaking," Darius murmured, his fingers tilting my chin to meet his gaze. "I'm not scared," I whispered. And I wasn't. I was alive. Malik smirked. "Good," he said. Before Darius leaned in, his lips brushed mine, slow at first, testing, then deepening, pulling me into something I couldn't pull away from. Malik's breath was warm against my ear, his hand resting lightly on my back, steadying me as my pulse thundered in my chest. I wasn't thinking about anything else. No music, no crowd, just them. Darius moved with deliberate confidence, every touch igniting something deep within me. Malik's presence was just as captivating, the energy between us crackling with tension. This was only the beginning. Malik's breath was hot against my ear, his fingers tracing slow, teasing patterns along my arms, waist and thighs. I was caught between them, their bodies pressing against mine, overwhelming me, making me forget everything else. The music pounded outside, but here, in the dimly lit hallway, time seemed to slow. I wasn't thinking about where I was or the choices I was making. I was feeling every touch, every breath, every ounce of heat radiating between us. Darius's lips trailed down my neck, his stubble rough against my skin, leaving a tingling path behind. I tilted my head back, giving in to the pleasure, my body instinctively arching against him. Malik chuckled, his fingers running through my hair before tilting my chin to make me meet his gaze. "You like this, don't you?" he murmured, his lips hovering just above mine. I nodded, my breath shaky. "Yes." He smirked, tightening his fingers around my waist. "Then stop pretending you don't." I didn't need to pretend anymore. Malik's lips crashed against mine, his kiss just as fierce as Darius's, but different. More playful, teasing, yet equally commanding. My hands moved over him, feeling the hard muscles beneath his shirt, the way his body responded to my touch. Darius didn't pull away. Instead, his hands moved lower, gripping my hips and pressing himself against me, the heat of his breath on my neck. Malik's mouth continued to move over mine, the strength of their bodies surrounding me. I was lost in it, surrendering completely. My phone buzzed in my purse, the sharp vibration intrusive. For a brief moment, I stiffened. My husband. But the thought flickered and passed like a whisper in the wind. I didn't reach for it. I didn't care. Malik must have sensed my hesitation, because his fingers brushed over my jaw, bringing my gaze back to his. "You're not thinking about him, are you?" I swallowed, my pulse racing. No, I replied. Darius smirked against my skin. Good. The phone buzzed again, and I ignored it. This wasn't a mistake. This was freedom. This was everything I had been craving for so long. Malik's hands tightened on my waist as Darius's lips pressed against my collarbone. I let myself fall deeper, drowning in the heat, the pleasure, and in them. This night wasn't over, not even close, and I never wanted it to end. I had never felt anything like this before. The intensity, the heat, the way their bodies surrounded me, making me feel small in the best possible way. Darius's strong hands gripped my hips, anchoring me to him. His chest rose and fell in deep, steady breaths. Malik's fingers trailed over my skin, teasing, testing, as if he were unraveling me piece by piece. I couldn't think anymore. I didn't want to. The music outside throbbed like a heartbeat. But inside this dimly lit space, time folded in on itself. There was no club, no people, no husband, only them. Darius's lips were hot against my skin, tracing a slow path down my neck, his breath sending delicious shivers through me. Malik tilted my chin, forcing my eyes to meet his as he smirked. His gaze was dark and knowing. You're ours tonight, he murmured. The words sent a thrill rushing through me, setting every nerve on fire. I wanted to be theirs. My phone buzzed again, louder this time, more persistent. I turned my head slightly and saw the screen glowing from inside my purse. My husband's name flashed briefly across it, and for a moment, a flicker of reality tried to creep in. The life waiting for me beyond these walls. The vows I had made. The expectations of who I was supposed to be. But then Darius's fingers traced the curve of my thigh, and Malik's lips brushed against my ear. Every rational thought vanished. I reached for my phone. Not to answer it, but to silence it. The screen went dark, and so did every last ounce of restraint I had left. Darius's hands tightened, pulling me against him. His body was firm, solid, and unrelenting. That's more like it, he murmured against my lips. My body ached with anticipation, my breath coming in shallow gasps. Malik chuckled, his fingers running down my spine, leaving a trail of fire in their wake. You wanted this, the second you saw us, he said, his voice low and teasing. I exhaled shakily, nodding in agreement. I needed this. Every part of me burned, fully awake in a way I hadn't experienced in years. My husband had never touched me like this, never made me feel like I was something to be truly desired. But tonight, with Darius and Malik, they had my full attention. Their movements were smooth and confident, their presence overwhelming in the best possible way. They didn't hesitate or second-guess themselves. They knew I was here, that I wanted this, and they met me with the same intensity. And I did want this, more than I had ever wanted anything before. The room felt smaller, warmer, the air heavy with something unspoken. I let go of every thought except this moment, allowing them to take the lead, guiding me into a feeling I hadn't experienced in so long. I wasn't Amelie, the wife, anymore. I was free, alive with desire, thrilled and completely immersed in the intensity. The outside world faded. The music, the distant voices, the flashing lights, none of it mattered. The only thing I felt was the undeniable pull between us. The way everything slowed down to just this. Darius's hand rested firmly on my waist, grounding me with his strong, unshakable presence. I could feel the tension in him, how his body moved with mine, his breath steady but controlled. Malik stood close by, gently brushing slow, deliberate circles on my wrist with his fingertips. His touch was light, teasing, but his presence was just as commanding, though different, calculated, knowing. They moved in perfect sync, as if they had done this before, as though they already understood exactly what I needed before I even did. "You don't hesitate anymore," Malik murmured, his lips brushing near my ear, his voice laced with quiet amusement. I exhaled shakily, my pulse racing. "Neither do you," I replied. Darius smirked, his deep voice sending a low vibration through me. "We knew what you wanted the second we saw you." His fingers traced my jaw, tilting my chin up until our eyes met. "Didn't we?" I swallowed hard. He was right. From the moment I had noticed them across the room, something within me had shifted. I had wanted this, wanted them, and now here I was. Malik chuckled, his voice low and knowing. "And now, you're here." His fingers slid slowly down my spine, deliberate, sending shivers through me. "With us." I bit my lip and nodded, the word escaping as a surrender, a confession, a declaration of exactly what this night was. I had never felt so alive. Darius's lips found my collarbone, kissing me slowly, lingering, his stubble rough against my skin. Malik's hands traced the curve of my waist, pressing into me with a firm possessiveness. My breath hitched as my body pressed into their touch, craving more, needing more. The room felt small yet vast, an endless abyss of heat and temptation swallowing me whole. Every touch ignited something deep inside me, something reckless, something I had buried for so long I had almost forgotten it existed. Now, it was burning. Malik's lips found my shoulder, his breath hot against my skin. "You're not thinking about him anymore, are you?" My eyes fluttered shut. My husband. The man who was probably still out with his friends, laughing, drinking, assuming I was home asleep, waiting for him like I always did. I should have felt guilt, but I didn't, because for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for anyone. I was living. I opened my eyes and met Malik's gaze. "No," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Darius hummed in approval, his hands tightening on my hips. "Good." My phone buzzed again, vibrating from inside my purse. I didn't even glance at it. I didn't care. All that mattered was this. How my body melted between them. How their hands moved over me. How my pulse thundered in my ears. Malik's fingers traced my lips, his touch gentle and teasing. "Say it," he murmured. I shivered under his touch, my breath catching. "Say what?" Darius's grip tightened. "That you want this." I met their gazes, my heart racing. "I do," I breathed. And just like that, I was theirs. They didn't wait, didn't hesitate. Darius's lips crashed against mine, his kiss deep and consuming, his hands roaming over my body as though memorizing every inch. Malik's touch was softer but equally commanding, his fingers sliding through my hair and down my spine, making me tremble beneath them. I surrendered completely, losing myself in the moment, in them, and for the first time in my life, I didn't think, I just felt. By the time Sunday evening came, I was stepping back into my house. The air inside felt different, smaller, colder, almost suffocating. It wasn't the house that had changed. It was me. I had left on Friday as one woman, and I returned as someone else. I placed my purse down, my body still humming from the weekend, from the hands that had claimed me, from the whispers that echoed in my mind. Every step I took through my home felt detached, distant, as if I were walking through a life that no longer belonged to me. Then my husband appeared in the doorway, a nervous smile on his face, holding a bouquet of roses. I stared at them for a moment, my expression unreadable. He exhaled, stepping closer. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I tilted my head slightly, waiting. I was an ass on Friday, he continued. I shouldn't have left like that. I shouldn't have dismissed you. You were right to be upset. He ran a hand through his hair, looking genuinely remorseful. I don't want us to fight like that. I love you, you know, and I want to make it up to you. I blinked. Love me? The words sounded foreign, empty, weightless. I had spent years waiting for apologies like this, hoping for change, craving the kind of attention he was suddenly willing to give now that he thought I had spent the weekend sulking at home. But I felt nothing. Not anger, not relief, not even satisfaction. Just nothing. He extended the flowers, his voice softer now. Let me take you to dinner tonight. Let's just have a nice evening, okay? I accepted the bouquet from him, gazing at the flawless petals, the deep red hue rich, beautiful, and utterly meaningless. I raised my eyes to meet his, offering a faint smile. I forgive you. The relief that washed over his face was almost amusing. I walked past him, down the hallway toward my room, not bothering to glance back. I shut the door behind me, exhaling as the weight of the weekend settled into my skin. I placed the flowers on the dresser, untouched, then sat on the edge of the bed. For the first time since entering this house, I took out my phone. The screen lit up, and there they were. Darius Malik. A simple contact saved. A link to a world I had just entered, to a freedom I hadn't realized I needed. They hadn't messaged me first. They didn't have to. They knew I would return. One message, one call, and I could be in their arms once more. Giving myself over, burning with desire, I smirked, fingers hovering over the screen, excitement rushing through me like a wave. Life had fallen back into its usual rhythm. But now, whenever I chose, I could make the night mine again, and no one would ever know. The house was silent, eerily silent. I leaned back against the headboard, my phone resting in my hand, the screen's light casting a glow on my face. The scent of roses still lingered in the air, but they meant nothing to me. My husband thought that a simple apology, a dinner invitation, and a bouquet of flowers could erase years of neglect. He had no idea. I traced my finger over the edge of the phone, staring at the names on the screen. Darius, Malik. My body responded just seeing them, recalling how their hands had felt on me, how their voices had wrapped around me like silk, pulling me into a world where there were no responsibilities, no expectations, only pleasure. I wasn't supposed to crave this, but I did. It wasn't just the passion, the way they had taken control, making me feel things I hadn't experienced in years. It was the power of knowing I could have this whenever I wanted. That there was a world beyond this house, beyond my marriage, where I was more than just a wife, more than just a woman waiting to be noticed. A small smirk tugged at my lips as I finally opened our message thread. I hadn't texted them yet, but the temptation weighed heavily in my chest. What would I even say? That I couldn't stop thinking about them. That every time I closed my eyes, I was back in that dark, heated room, feeling their hands on me, their lips claiming me, their bodies pressing me into something I didn't want to escape. Or should I keep it simple? When can I see you again? I let out a slow breath, placing the phone on my nightstand. Not tonight, but soon. Very soon. I turned off the light and lay back against the pillows, my body still vibrating with the memory of them. My husband was somewhere in the house, thinking everything had returned to normal. But he had already lost me. And the best part was, he didn't even know it.